Hey y'all, welcome to Horrible Gaming. My name is Nora and on today's video we are playing some more Disney Dreamlight Valley. On today's video we are going to be building a fall themed functional farm. I know many of us are always wanting something functional but also very aesthetic, so hopefully today's video will bring you some Disney Dreamlight Valley inspiration and of course some fall inspo too. I have lots of fall and Halloween content planned for us on Disney Dreamlight Valley, so if you're new here I'd appreciate if you'd hit that like, subscribe, and notify button if you want to see more content like this in the future. I also want to give a huge shout out to my friend Elle, who's also a fellow content creator. Elle actually inspired the cobblestone and dirt path combination in front of the house, so thank you Elle, of course, for always inspiring us on Disney Dreamlight Valley. So when I first started this build, I actually wasn't planning to do it a fall sort of vibe, but then it actually ended up transitioning into a more fall theme aesthetic. So I did want to leave this part of the footage in just in case if you are somebody who doesn't want to use a ton of flowers, because they do count towards our item limit. I did like that the purple flower combination was more seasonal friendly, so once again I hope that both of these options inspire somebody out there. My plan for this build today is to do something very aesthetic in front of the cottage, but behind it, that's where all the functional farming locations are going to be. So we are going to relocate Wally's garden over here. We're also going to have a large farming plot and two small farming plots in this location, and then I'm also planning to move all of the fruit, bushes, and trees into the farming spot as well. I actually made a functional garden a long time ago, but I wasn't quite a fan of the layout. I actually prefer this layout way more because it connects better to all the locations around the cottage. So we can also access, like the areas right by Elsa's home and also up to Frozen Heights. So I just personally felt like this layout was a lot more functional and easier to work around than my previous layout. I think my overall plan for the Forest of Valor is to do a fall vibe just through the whole entire thing. But of course, I always change my mind every 5 seconds. So if that does happen, I'll probably just do something very seasonal friendly, but I know many of us are thinking about fall, so I figured we would go ahead and start some fall content by making a functional fall farm. A lot of the items that I'm also going to be using in today's video, majority of them are from crafting or doing like quests with the fairy godmother. I'm also using some pumpkin decor that I got from last year's Star Path, which is not available to new players sadly, and then there's also some pumpkins that you get from Scrooge's shop. So to add some fall touches also into the build, we're going to be using the red maple trees. I really wish that we had access to the trees inside the frozen realm, because I felt like the fall colored trees in that realm would have matched this build so well. I don't understand why they never gave us those trees, because I felt like that would be such a huge staple for us throughout the whole entire valley, and I know a lot of people would be obsessed with those trees. Another tip that I have while we work on the front of the cottage is if you want to make your item limit extend as far as possible, make use of the rock items and giant clusters of trees and bushes. I actually tend to use those a lot to fill up empty space throughout each biome. This method in decorating definitely has helped me extend my item limit further. When you're doing individual bushes or flowers or even rocks, it just fills up your item limit way quicker. And also, if you plan to decorate with flowers in each biome, make sure you're using flowers from different biomes, because if you're using ones that are native to the biome, it actually will affect the spawn rate of them. Anyways, after a few more details in front of the cottage and of course getting started on the back of the cottage decor, we're going to start focusing on how we're going to transition the sides of it. I want to make sure that we can access Elsa's home and also the other transitional areas on there. I tend to do a lot of mining in this game, so I don't want any mining deposits also blocked. Hopefully this layout will help inspire somebody out there, because I know that these locations are very important to gather resources in. I did try my best to make this build as functional as possible in every single location. So to help our item limit even more, to avoid obviously just lining this whole path with rocks, because trust me, it's really tempting to do that, we're actually going to do a mixture of bushes and different greenery options to help us not use as many rocks for the natural looking transition. Even though we got the bordered paths in a different update, I still really love using the cobblestone like path that we use with the dirt path and the rock combination, just because I feel like it really does complement these natural areas a lot better and also help us achieve that cottagecore sort of vibe. And also, since my forest is going to be heavily packed with decor, I'm going to leave Elsa's location and a few other spots near my farm completely empty, just so I can have natural resources spawn there. Whenever I'm doing a more natural like build, I always leave a couple of locations in that biome so I have my natural resources still spawning, because obviously we need to access those for different recipes and different crafting DIYs too. So now that I have that curved area pretty much done, we're going to start detailing with some more items. I really love using these barrels just to fill up space. I swear I go crazy with these in each build that involves natural areas, but they're just one of my favorite items in the game, and they really do help achieve that cottagecore look. So now that I have all of that location done, we're going to start focusing on the next part of today's video, which is our functional farm area. As mentioned earlier, this location is going to have all the fruit and apple trees. I'm also going to be placing the bushes over here too, but before we get started on that, I am going to map out all the farming plot areas. I really want to make sure that I can fit Wally's garden over here, just because not only does it fill up space, but it actually has a nice location for him. Being that this is my main player home, I want everything easy to access, but I also just want all the important buildings all in one location. So now that I have all the dirt path mapped out, we're going to go ahead and start on some farm decor right next to the river. I'm just going to go for something really simple with the hay bales and then some more barrels. As mentioned earlier, I just feel like these items really do help fill up unwanted space, and it just makes things feel a little bit more cluttered, which is ideal for obviously cottagecore. So I'm just going to go and throw a few of these items out before I go ahead and get Wally's garden over here. And then once we get Wally's garden in place, we're going to start focusing on our farming areas for our crops. So I'm going to do one large crop area and then 2 smaller ones, and I feel like that's a decent amount of crop space. I know a lot of people tend to do like these giant areas for their pumpkin farms, but every hole that you dig on Disney Dreamlight Valley will actually count towards your item limit, and so I definitely do not want that happening to myself, being that I still have plenty of other biomes I need to decorate. So definitely keep this in mind when you're making your farm areas, that these holes do count towards the item limit. I was expecting this to be fixed or removed in a future update, and sadly these still have not done this. Hopefully it does get addressed, because obviously holes being dug are not actual items in the valley. Anyways, now that we have Wally over here, we're going to start mapping out our crop areas. I'm not doing any specific dimensions for this. I kind of just adjusted it to my own taste and liking. Once I have this whole location mapped out, then I'm going to start moving over the fruit trees and also the fruit bushes. I'm going to put this over towards the right of the crops. That's the only empty space that I have left. I'm also not going to do anything super fancy with the trees, just because I do need to be able to harvest every single location of them. So do keep this in mind, that it's not going to be super detailed like the other locations are during our farm decor process. I'm also going to move the well over here, which might change in the future. I just wanted it in this spot just because this is my main player home and it was easier for me to like access this location for now, but I might do a build with it in the future. We'll see. Anyways, I did go ahead and move over those fruit trees and bushes for us, and now it is time to do the final walkthrough of how everything in today's video turned out. As mentioned earlier in the video, you can access all important locations in this biome, so I made sure that all the mining deposits were open, all the fishing locations, every single spot transitions really nicely into those locations on the map. Over here we have some crops being planted, and then we have Wally's garden. I also placed a couple of chests out here to store like different seeds when I'm working on my crops, and I just thought that was a really nice addition to the build. I kept the backside of the cottage pretty simple, and then of course over by the bridge is completely empty because I just flattened this biome. I did actually have like a cul-de-sac like build with the other cottages in the valley over here, so I might bring that build back. I just wasn't sure what my plan was. Once you go through this trellis, then of course over here is where I placed all the fruit trees and fruit bushes. As mentioned earlier, I didn't do anything too crazy build wise with them, just because I do need to harvest every single one of them. Before this video ends, I am going to get a couple of overhead shots of the whole entire location we worked on today. I think we had a pretty productive video. I think this build today flows really nicely with each location on the map, and of course I hope that it brought you some Disney Dreamlight Valley inspiration. Before today's video ends, I do want to give a huge shout out to all of my channel members. Thank you so much for supporting me as a creator. Just your support in general means the world to me. With that being said, thank you so much for watching and have a horrible day.